how do you even start a print-on-demand business? In the beginning, it feels super overwhelming with everything that you need to do and all the strategies and everything. So in this video, I'll break down the 5 things that you need in order to get started. Let's get into it. Alright, so the first thing that anyone needs when they start a print-on-demand business is that they need to register themselves as a sole proprietor or as an LLC. When it comes to sole proprietorship and an LLC, is that when you are a sole proprietor, the main thing is that you yourself are personally responsible for everything that happens in the business. And if you open an LLC, it's actually the LLC itself that is responsible for the things, as it's a separate entity from you. Now, I had a sole proprietorship in the beginning, as that's the easiest thing to start. But as I went on, I started my own LLC here in Sweden, or like the equivalent of it here in Sweden. It's just important to know that having all of these things set in the beginning, it makes it easier. Like in my own experience, I started Etsy as with my own sole proprietorship that I already had. And I think you actually can do Etsy without registering yourself as a sole proprietor, but I'm pretty sure that like after a certain point of revenue, you actually need to register yourself as a sole proprietor or get an LLC. So I would highly advise to do this in the beginning so that you have your bank account set, so that you have everything, like the infrastructure of the business, the core part of it set before you actually head on, as it makes everything so much easier later on. It's also worth noting that Etsy actually doesn't allow for transfers of shops. So you can't transfer it to someone else, which means that if you don't have something registered and you just start without being registered for a sole proprietor, I think you would actually need to keep it there without actually switching to like an LLC, for instance, because in that case, you're actually switching it to another entity, to someone that is actually apart from you. And they're actually not allowing that from what I know. So I would just highly advise that you actually get the infrastructure that you want for the lifetime of your Etsy business set from the beginning, as it makes everything just so much easier. Now, the second thing that you need to do is after you have your LLC or you have registered yourself as a sole proprietor, you will need to open your shop. This is super easy. You just go to Etsy and you just open a shop, and then you just choose your shop name. And after that, you just add your first listing, which can be anything, just to get the shop started. Now, when it comes to the shop name, when people buy on Etsy, at least in my experience, people are always just saying that they bought this off of Etsy. They bought this specific thing off of Etsy. I've never encountered someone that just says that they bought this from a specific shop on Etsy. So the name can be anything you want. I think I put like 5 minutes into choosing my own name because I just needed to get started. So I would just advise that anyone that want to start a profitable print-on-demand business, just take like 5 minutes to choose a name and then just get going, because the name doesn't really matter. Everyone is just purchasing off of Etsy, not off of you as a seller. All right, so before we head on, if you found some value in this video, please help me spread this video on YouTube so we can help as many people as possible with Etsy print-on-demand. Please help me by pressing that like button, hitting that bell's notification button, and then pressing subscribe. And in return, I'll promise to make the best content that I possibly can do. Now let's get back to the video. And the thing that you need to do after that is just to find something to actually sell. So what I mean by this is that you can't just pick anything. You need to find something that is actually in demand. I've made a video about this previously that just showcases the most in-demand products on Printify overall. So I'll just link that here. But choosing one of those and then just honing in on the specific one is something that I would highly advise, as every product has its own nuances to it. Just honing in on one specific product category so that you know everything about that specific product category is something that can really be beneficial and will be a lot easier to make progress with a specific product category if you're honing in on one at a time. Now, once you've actually chosen that, you need to list your item. Now, this comes with specific types of requirements. So you need to actually have product images to list. I've made a video about that previously as well, about like choosing mockups and stuff. I'll link that here too. The main thing here is not overthink it. Buy some mockups off of Etsy and make sure that they're accurately depicting the item that you're selling. This is super important, as that's listed within Etsy's policy that you as a seller are responsible for accurately depicting the final product to the customer, basically. So the most important and crucial parts, in my opinion, in the beginning is just the way to go, because it can feel really overwhelming by optimizing stuff and making all the small tedious things to make things work. So in the beginning, I just recommend that you showcase the most important parts of the listing itself. So let's say that, for instance, that you sell a sweatshirt. What you need in the beginning to sell a sweatshirt, if you don't have any reviews and you're just a new shop, is that you need a main thumbnail, a guarantee to increase perceived likelihood of achievement. And apart from that, you also need a size chart. So 3 images at minimum. So I would just advise to just get those things. So the thumbnail, the guarantee, and then the size chart. Just getting those 3 images adding the text on top of them to showcase the offer itself would be my way to go to not overthink it. So just make those images and list it on Etsy and then just optimize as you go. It's just super important to just, when you're at this stage, you have all the infrastructure set up, you have the shop, to just get going with listing. Once you learn more, once you get better, you can optimize later on. But it's just important to get going and not get stuck in this planning stage. But once you actually have some listings up, once you have maybe at least like 100 listings at minimum up, because it takes a lot to learn Etsy and to just get going. I've personally put up thousands of listings that did not work at all, but that actually made me learn Etsy, how to design and everything like that. So just putting the ropes in is super important. But this is really important. It's really easy to actually just do the same thing repetitively over and over again. And in that instance, you can actually get stuck in a loop, and that loop doesn't really serve the business. So I learned this from an investor called Ray Dalio. This is a really great thing to not get stuck in the loop and to always make sure that you're actually making progress. And he made this super simple equation, which is just that pain plus reflection is equals progress. So when you're at a stage and you have listed a lot of items and you have gotten going, then it's really important to take a step back and just look at what you have, what's worked, what hasn't worked, how can I make things better. Maybe you can get feedback from someone else that knows more about this business to make sure that you're actually on track to getting the expectations that you want. And then once you get that feedback, you can change those things and then progress through that way. But it's just important to know that once you actually have listed stuff, you have some things in your shop, take a step back, reflect on what's happening, reflect on how it's going, is matching up with the expectations that you've set. If not, how can you improve? How can you get better? A great way to do that is by being in a community. I joined a small mentorship group that Cassie Johnson had. That made me being in a community with peers that were on the same level as me, and being in that small little group helped me immensely. We could just all bowl ideas off of each other, and once I encountered an issue, I could just get feedback from them. Just feedback in and of itself is one of the things that helped me the most. But overall, just knowing that once you're at a stage when you have some stuff in your shop, if it's not hitting the expectations that you want, take a step back, try and reflect as best that you can to know what can be done better. And then once you have an idea of what that could be, don't judge the idea, just try out the idea that you actually have and then see where it goes. If you want to learn about the most crucial part about a print-on-demand business, I suggest watching this video right here. A lot of my videos actually come from the comments that I get from you guys, so don't be afraid to comment if there's any specific videos that you want to see next. I'll see you in the next one.